Hey there, I'm Scott Winfield and welcome to a new web series from Victorian Opera. On this episode of Artists in Isolation, we're delighted to be joined by two of Australia's best loved opera singers, Antoinette Halloran and James Egglestone. Antoinette and James, thank you so much for joining us.
It's such a pleasure. It's great to be here.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you too.
Now, before we start to talk about COVID-19 and how you've been impacted and how you've responded, I wanted to ask a question that's completely different. How did you two meet?
We met when we were babies on Madame Butterfly for Opera Australia when we were both in the chorus.
Yes.
It's funny because I met her and she was pregnant with Harry.
Yes.
But in later years, we got to do that with Opera Australia together.
But we should explain that I was pregnant and married to someone else.
Yeah.
And that relationship fell apart about, must have been 3 years after that. And then James and I started dating about 4 years later. So it was quite a long time.
Yes.
There wasn't an immediate connection there.
Not when I was 9 months pregnant.
How did you guys come together? Like, who made the first move?
We both had come out of big relationships. I'd been in one for about 11 years and I think we just sort of met at the same level at that time and had similar experiences and it just sort of grew from there.
I'm curious to know, as two opera singers living together, how musical is your household?
When James and I first started living together, it was very interesting because we were both learning roles, and because we're in this small weatherboard house, I was learning his roles and he was learning my roles, and it sort of drove us a little bit crazy. So what we ended up doing was building, luckily we've got a big block, and down the end of the block, James and his father built a soundproof weatherboard studio.
So how do you like, if you're both learning roles at the same time, who do you determine goes into the studio?
It was usually me, I think.
Yes, because we've also got this room is lovely to sing in as well. So if the kids are at school, then I can use this room and James can use the studio. So it's a great way that we can both work, because there's no way we could both be singing in the house. It's
too loud. Yeah. But I think also the studio was, Antoinette was pregnant with Charlotte, and the plan was that we'd have a space away from the house, so that we could make as much noise as we wanted while the baby was sleeping. And now it works.
Very sensible.
Whenever everyone's older and out of the house during the day, one of us sings inside and one of us sings in the studio.
Do you often come together to sing? Even just sort of recreationally or to relax?
Well, as James mentioned, the highlight was probably doing the Madame Butterfly at the Opera House together. I mean, that was an amazing experience. Yeah. We feel so lucky that we had that opportunity to do a season together at the Opera House.
It was good. It's rediscovering our relationship.
Yeah, it was like therapy.
Yeah.
So you had to fall in love anew every night. So it was like some sort of weird marriage therapy. It was good. We needed it.
So first act was great. And then, and you know, very romantic. And then Antoinette was always happy that she'd get a big cheer at the end and I'd get booed and be sad.
That's a good night.
That's a good night in the theatre. Never got too big for my boots.
In a sense, your audience has been taken away from you in terms of like a physical connection to an audience. What does that connection to an audience bring to you as a performer?
Oh, do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I think there's two things. It brings to me an onus on me to be as good as I possibly can. So an onus to strive for virtuosity, perfection as far as I possibly can, because I don't want people paying to come to the theatre and getting something that is below par or substandard or not as good as I can do. So of course I love that they have a lovely night in the theatre, but I also love that the audience pushes me as an artist to be the best that I can. And the other thing that I really love as a performer is the escape into the dramatic world of whoever I'm inhabiting. And I love my life and I love my kids and my family, but there is something so joyous about being able to be someone else for a while and walk in their shoes. And I really miss that occasionally. So James takes me to the front room and I become Mrs. Lovett, or I become Desiree from Night Music, or I sing a Strauss song or something, just to take me out of myself and into another world where I am very happy to escape to.
Antoinette has this weird thing she does when she does a character. She starts buying clothes. Like when she does Madame Butterfly, she ends up with Japanese kimonos, and she doesn't even or Japanese tops. And she go, oh, you realise that's Japanese, and you're doing, oh my God, I didn't even realise. And when you were doing, what was it, HMS Pinafore, you were buying stripes and things with little ships on it, and she just sort of, yeah, absolutely goes there.
But what about you? Do you miss performing?
Yeah, I think what an audience does for me, I think what I love about it's a moment of, I love having an audience there, and at the same time, it's a love-hate relationship, because it's a moment of absolute clarity, where it's live. This is it. It's like nothing else. You can't go back, and you're in the rehearsal room. You can't go back and fix that scale. You can't go back and fix that note. It's here. So it, as Antoinette says, it requires you to be at your best, focused, and I think experience helps you to relax and enjoy that feeling. And people always talk about that theatre being organic, every performance. Richard Mills talks about being, a little bit different every night, and that's what's wonderful. And everyone, when performers, conductors have a connection, you get this. Every night's different, and the language that they just work with each other, and they talk and feel each other's nuances, which I think is a wonderful and beautiful thing. When some nights you'll go up and go, wow, that performance was amazing. There's just something about it. We connected differently, and it's, it takes on a life of its own.
I can speak to that as an audience member. Occasionally you'll love something so much that you'll go and see it a second time, and there's something so beautiful to see how a performance evolves within a season, or, however long the period is, or whatever happens on that night. Just to see the sort of the magic of the connection, the ball's hit a different way, or it's caught a different way, between whoever's on stage.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, that's the beautiful side. And then there's the train wreck, car crash, everything.
When someone drops the ball. When someone drops the ball.
And that's sort of wonderful too. They're the stories you tell your friends at the dinner table that you never forget.
You can always gain an anecdote.
Charlotte was asking me today about did I ever uncontrollably laugh on stage, and that's my worst fear, because you're having such a good time and you're so on the edge, and then if something tips you over and the giggles come, then that's just the worst.
Has that ever happened?
It happened to me in one of Stuart Warner's productions at the Opera House with Kane and Breen.
I'm unsurprised to hear that Kane and Breen was involved. What happened?
He was singing "Take a Pair of Sparkling Eyes." It was in HMS Pinafore, so it might have been.
No,
what would it have been? Anyway, the lovely aria in that, and he hit the top note and just cracked. The note split in 5 different directions, and shards of glass were going out into the audience.
Can we say Kanan doesn't normally do that? That's why it's funny.
That's why it was funny. Yeah. And he just turned to me, and the look in his eyes was just, and I was trying to be strong for him, but I just caught his eye and just lost it. And I didn't sing another note for the whole scene. I was bent over the balustrade of the ship, just crying with laughter. Stuart Warner luckily wasn't in the house, but the assistant director was, and he came back at interval and he had tears streaming down his face, and he just was like, you two, you can't do that.
When something like that happens, do you find the audience sort of gets in on the joke and sort of joins in as well?
I think so. I mean, I personally, when I see, some of my favourite part of those comedy shows are watching the outtakes at the end when the actors fall apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't do it all the time, of course, but if it does happen occasionally, that happens in live theatre, and I'm sorry, you just have to go with it.
There are certain things that are funny. If the opera is like comic and something genuinely happens, like someone's moustache is falling off or their pants are falling down by accident, However, it's not so funny if you're in the middle of a romantic, dramatic aria and everything starts to sort of unfold, I think.
And you mentioned a second ago Mrs. Lovett. This is a role that you received huge praise for when you performed it in Melbourne and across New Zealand and in Western Australia. Talk us through creating that role.
Well, for me, it's a bit, I'm hopefully doing it at the end of this year, but who knows, fingers crossed. Oh. But it's a dream. But for me, creating it was a dream because I was nervous about it because it was sort of out of my range in what I had done before. So that Victorian Opera took a huge leap of faith to give me that opportunity. So what I did was I just went to YouTube and I watched everything I could, every performance, Patti LuPone, just every great person who's ever done it, Sheila,
Angela
Lansbury, the girl who did it with Johnny Depp.
Oh, Helena Bonham Carter.
And then back I found these old, also old YouTube clips of the making of Sweeney Todd, the first production ever done. Just really sourced every bit of evidence I could to put the part together. And then from there also, with my own ideas of who this woman was, moulded together something. I didn't copy anyone, of course, who'd done it before, but I loved seeing the richness that they all brought to it and the different interpretations. And from there, just moulded my own version of who I thought this woman was. Why is she doing this? Why is she there? Yeah. What is she after?
Why does she have the blades so many years on? This person that she has such longing for.
Yeah, so that became the motivation, the driving force, and that was the key to understanding who that woman was. And it came from one line, and it was when she said to him, when they come for the little girl, I hid them, and she's talking about the knives. But for me, that line was, when they came for the little girl, I hid the knives. I didn't hide the little girl. I hid the knives because I wanted you to come back for the knives. I didn't care about the little girl. Yes. And that sort of just, that just sort of wrapped up who that woman was with this lusty, vengeful, driven woman. Yeah.
And no wonder with the price of meat what it is when you get it. Never thought I'd live to see the day. Men would think it was a treat finding poor animals what are dying in the street. Mrs. Mooney has her pie shop, does her business, but I noticed something weird. Lately all the neighbours' cats have disappeared. Have to enter to her what I calls enterprise, popping pussies into pies. Wouldn't do in my shop. Just the thought of it's enough to make you sick. And I'm telling you, them pussycats is quick. No denying, times is hard, sir. Even harder than the worst pies in London.
What was it like seeing Ant perform that role, James?
Oh, it was amazing. So the lead up to it, I think there was a little bit of press, and she got a bit of flack. People were not so sure, sort of saying that she wasn't necessarily the right choice and things like that. And it was, I know that sort of like affected you a bit, but it made you really determined. And she did. She sort of was really studious and knuckled down and did so much work about, she was determined to make this so good. And for me watching it, it was a transformation. I probably one of those moments for me. Antoinette, I'm not sure she necessarily likes me saying this, but it's probably my favourite thing that that I've watched her do, and it's not because it's of the singing or the acting. It was just because it was so unexpected, so different from the course she'd been on before. She'd really gone on another path, and she'd shown me something. I'd seen a lot of things she could do artistically, but she hadn't shown me that before. And so I was pleasantly really surprised and just really happy for her.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm curious to know to what extent you guys sort of, as opera singers living together, to what extent you sort of maybe dissect or unpack a character together, or how you sort of work on that process. Is there any sort of discussions at home about who someone might be?
I think so.
There is, yeah, but we're also really bloody minded. I mean, we both are. James pretends that he's all organic and fabulous, but yeah,
I'm hurt.
we actually are both really bloody minded. So we do discuss ideas and throw ideas around, but I think intrinsically we both really feel strongly about. You do too, like we do help each other, but we don't. We also keep a distance. It's a what's that Sondheim line? Keep a tender distance, so we'll both be free. You know, we don't we wouldn't tell each other how to do a role. We might throw some ideas around, but
the key is answer the question, the specific question that you're asked. Don't go on a tangent. Just stick to the question, and you're fine. Everything's fine, and it's peaceful.
Would you agree with that?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, if you ask me, how does this scale sound, or how's my accent in this part? Just answer the question. Yeah.
Yes, I suppose what he's saying is it's a fine line between being helpful and being prescriptive. Yeah. So you have to really tread that very carefully.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we do, like vocally, sometimes we'll say, okay, I'm thinking of singing this phrase this way. What do you think of this? Then I can do it this way. This way is the easiest to sing it, but I don't know if it's the best. What do you think? And then, you know, it quite often becomes a combination of three different, or, you know, someone will say, what about this? You know, and so it is helpful. And sometimes just telling each other that's not working.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
Like having that other set of ears to say you need to brighten that sound, or you need to take something out of that sound, or that's really helpful.
But I think also...
after we hit each other over the head with frying pans, it's helpful.
After you get up and dampen the blood, regained consciousness.
Yeah, I just... You see me, I'm a few inches shorter after the interview. But I think another good tool that we use is sometimes, you know, we'll just say to each other, I do, and Antoinette does, if you go and record yourself and have a listen, you know, sometimes the way you perceive your sound in a space, especially when you're singing it and you're emoting it, it feels a certain way and you hear it a certain way, but then when you're actually hearing the raw sound in a recording, you go, that's not what I intended. Not what I intended.
I was wondering, what are you guys doing at the moment to find and sort of keep balance in your lives?
I think I was thinking about this today, like, because what makes us artists, especially in you know, this COVID period. And what I realised, I think, like Antoinette goes out into the garden, I've been painting the house, we've been doing just normal domestic things, but it's really interesting how, you know, shaping a garden or something can give you, it somehow gives you artistic inspiration, whether a song makes you sing a song or makes you want to record something or perform something. So that's what I think. I think that's what I think an artist is. Some people don't find artistic sort of inspiration from just normal everyday experiences, and that's what I think is the difference. And I see Antoinette coming in from the garden and from doing things, and she's singing a song or something like that, and I'm the same. I'm thinking about music, or I'm thinking about a role or something like that, and I think so. Yeah. Whereas I think that's a type of person, and that's someone who loves theatre and just loves music, and yeah, and I noticed that in Antoinette. I noticed that since we've been during this period, because we've been in such close contact.
We both have to keep pretty busy. Like, I think we've never sort of stopped. I wouldn't stop until I start cooking dinner at 5:30 at night. Like, I make sort of structure the day. I've got some students, which is just absolutely fantastic, which I'm loving. So that fills a bit of time. So I'm teaching them on Zoom, and I'm loving that. And I'm trying my little deft hand at writing an opera.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows? Fingers crossed. But I've had an idea cooking away for a while. So I'm writing a libretto for that, and sort of thinking a lot about that, and doing my research as I do about that as well. So just things to keep us in the mix, because who knows when we'll perform again. It's still not clear when we will actually get to perform for an audience again.
You mentioned your garden, which is, you have a glorious garden. What does it bring to your lives?
Well, it's a haven at the moment. And I sort of said to James after the first week we were here, I said to him, I almost feel like I know now why I've created this space, because if we are going to be locked down, we're so lucky. I feel really lucky. We've got this beautiful garden that was a legacy from my father, who was a botanist, an agricultural scientist at Melbourne University, and he transformed this place with me, which was just a suburban paddock with nothing in it, a basketball court I think it had. And we ripped that up and we made what is a really beautiful garden. And so he's died now, but I keep it going. And we've got food, we eat from it every night.
Oh, fantastic. What do you grow?
I grow all greens that we eat. And at the moment we've got copious amounts of figs, lemons, rhubarb, just a lot of food, so we can eat a good meal from the garden. But we don't have any chickens. We must get some chickens.
I don't want to be killing chickens.
No, you don't have to kill the chickens.
No, for the eggs. For the eggs.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Aside from things like your garden, is there anything in your lives that you have a particularly renewed gratitude for from this period?
Our children. Our children and our dog that just snored over there. I think it's the little things, it is the little things. And I think we've decided at this point, when we don't know when we're going to sing again, that this is our long service leave, which we've never taken. So we've both been in this business over 20 years, and as a performer, you don't say I'm taking long service leave or I'm taking 6 months off. You can't afford to do that. You have to just keep working. So I think in the last few weeks, when the more and more contracts get cancelled and things get cancelled, I've just decided to look at this as it might be a year. Who knows? I hope not. But as a sort of a long service leave and a hiatus to recalibrate. But I think one thing's for sure is we know we don't want to stop performing. This is not a full stop. This is a pause.
I think it's an interesting thing when you're presented with a lot of time. If someone said to you, what would you do if you had all the time you wanted? What would you do? And it's like sometimes, some days, after you've finished everything, you go, okay, what do I want to do? I end up going in the music studio a fair bit and doing stuff. Just ended up painting the facade, the house, painted, just all these jobs and things that I haven't had time for or didn't think I'd be able to do or get round to, and which has been satisfying too. Just other things and finding interesting things to do, new things to do that I wouldn't have done otherwise.
And I think because with our lives, we have gone away a lot for work. Like I was going to be away all the second half of this year. It's sort of a nice time for both the kids to just know that every night we're having dinner together. It didn't happen while they were growing up. There weren't that many nights where we were all in the same house together. So this has been nice too for just, that period of just nesting. So yeah, you've got to look at the positives, don't you?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you guys will do once this time passes?
Go to Noosa. No, we won't need a holiday actually, will we? I mean, my feeling is the first thing I will do is just get back out there and sing for an audience and realise how lucky we are and what a beautiful life we have and what a great job we have and how we get up for work every day and we just are so happy.
I think there's been a lot of time where we've been inside. We've been outside around the house, but the space that we've been living in has been a lot more confined. So for me, it's getting out into a much broader space, like whether it be go to the mountains or something like that.
Ride a motorbike.
Yeah, maybe just get out and feel feel that sense of freedom and space, because it is very easy to get a lot more self-aware when the space becomes smaller. You're a bigger entity in a small space. So, yeah.
But James, this tenor, loves dirt bikes. He loves dirt bike riding. And he used to get them out of the back shed and be warming them up all the time, and it would drive me to distraction. And the neighbour heard me yell out the door, "What's going on? I'm the daughter of academics. What are you doing?"
No, they actually said, "Is that one of you singing, or is that the motorbike?"
Could you stop warming up already and just sing?
Yeah, so James will go dirt bike riding, and I probably will go and have a cocktail with some friends. And
Shopping!
Go shopping.
No, I think we were talking about hopping in, we've got access to a van, maybe possibly going camping. We'll see, yeah.
Well, Antoinette and James, it's been so lovely to chat to you both, and please stay safe.
You too.
You too. We'll see
Thanks,
you soon.
mate.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For more chats with artists in isolation, you can follow Victorian Opera across social media or visit victorianopera.com.au. I'm Scott Winfield. Thanks for watching.